It is the 31st millennium. Under the benevolent leadership of the immortal emperor, the Imperium of Man has stretched out across the galaxy. It is a golden age of discovery and conquest. But now on the eve of victory, the emperor leaves the front lines, entrusting the great crusade to his favorite son, Horus. Promoted to War Master, can the idealistic Horus carry out the emperor's grand plan, or will this promotion sow the seeds of heresy amongst his brothers? Horus Rising is the first chapter in the epic tale of the Horus heresy, a galactic civil war that threatened to bring about the extinction of humanity. Hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I am your host, Liam, aka Himvar. Today I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of Dan Abnett's Horus Rising. Horus Rising is a 2006 novel by Dan Abnett, and first in the Horus Heresy series, which consists of over 50 novels and anthologies, and have several different arcs with several authors. I listened to this over about a period of 1 week shortly after moving, actually, so I finished this one several weeks ago, and I was listening to it at the same time as my little brother, Cullen, was listening to it. And I will say that as someone who's not a big fan of audiobooks, this was the best audiobook I've ever listened to. The voice actor does such a good job. Longworth, I believe, is his name, and he does a really good job of keeping all the voices unique, even when most of the characters you have are, big, meaty, sweaty soldiers, and yet he still makes them all stand out individually. Where he starts with the conquering of Terra, though it is not actually Earth, it is another planet called Terra. This is after a period of time where humanity has been sundered of sorts and spread throughout the galaxy, and so the Emperor of Mankind is trying to reunite all these separate, distant colonies. And mostly we have characters from the 16th Legion doing this conquering, specifically the Luna Wolves. And in the book we also have appearances from different legions, such as the Blood Angels, Imperial Fist, Emperor's Children, and the Word Bearers appear as well in varying amounts. The crusade to bring humanity under one ruler is led by Horus, who is the War Master, and he replaced the Emperor of Mankind, who has taken to his throne to work on other things, which we kind of get a hint of as we go through this book. Especially, there's a big hint in chapter 9, which blew my mind when I read it. I just have to mention that chapter specifically, because that was the first time in a really long time where I just had my mind blown by a specific happening in the book, and I thought it was awesome. It was really awesome. Mostly awesome because we have this weird, bizarre experience happening from the point of view of our main character, Loken, who is a member of the Lunar Wolves, and he is very much a solid, straightforward super soldier. He is one of the Hastati, and these are the Space Marines of sorts, and they are immortal, except for, of course, they can die in battle. And he's a really interesting character because he's kind of doesn't have a ton of personality, seemingly at first, but it's interesting to get to know him as he through his eyes, we get a bigger idea of this Warhammer universe. And coming in to this book, I had no experience with Warhammer. This is my first experience with Warhammer, and I really, really enjoyed it. I guess if we compare it to the other Warhammer universes, this is really a Warhammer 40k book, but specifically a Warhammer 30k book, as it takes place 10,000 years before Warhammer 40k, hence the number difference, and it kind of sets up what the world is like in the modern world of Warhammer 40k. Religion has mostly been eradicated, but how do you explain, chaos and demons? And people, in a lot of ways, tend to act superstitious about the subject in the Empire and on the fringes of the Empire, it seems to, since this is a gigantic conglomerate of humans. And some people even venerate the Emperor as a deity, but this is frowned upon by the Emperor himself. The book itself actually has quite a lot of action, as you'd probably expect, though, and it's about as sweaty as you would expect too. That's the best word I could come up with. And because the Hastati are killing machines, they're built to be perfect warriors with genetic engineering, and it's exactly what you expect. I mean, it's exactly what I expect. So if you don't know really anything about Warhammer besides what you see on the screen right now, yeah, that's what it is. And then back to Loken, though. I think he's also a great character because he's really a gray character. And I realize Warhammer is known for coining the term grimdark, but he really is a character that I enjoyed compared to a lot of the other characters. He makes fair judgments about the indoctrination of the Imperium while still being an excellent soldier and an excellent leader at that. He questions things, but mostly at the fear of doing what is wrong. So in that sense, he's kind of a goody two-shoes. The book itself is divided into 3 parts. Part 1 is the longest and the most exciting, in my opinion. Part 2 expands the world, but we get some new characters that I didn't really like as much. And Part 3 is rather short, but packs in some good action, intrigue, mystery, and much more of Loken, which he was kind of lacking in Part 2, to be honest. Of course, there are some decent amounts of action throughout the entire book. And, you know, it was interesting that there is one part in here that I guess you could kind of say is a theme, that some stereotypes led to some bitter and heartbreaking events in this book. So I was actually really impressed with this book, coming in with very little to no expectations and no knowledge really beforehand. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if this is the best place to start with Horus Heresy, or rather, I don't know if this is the best place to start with Warhammer, because Horus Heresy is such a big thing. I do plan on reading more of the Horus Heresy stuff, at least the next 2 books and the original 3. And then I'll see what I want to read of Horus Heresy afterwards, after I read those. So anyways, this has been Liam with Liam's Lyceum. Hopefully this was concrete enough and coherent, but I'll catch you next time.